Hi, I'm tor-arne, editor of the Cluster Services blog. We tell interesting stories for professionals working in regional innovation system and cluster development. Please subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media. In this series of short videos, we share with you a practical way for regions to use the regional cluster portfolio to implement smart specialization in their region. We cover 3 topics. Why did Europe start the European Cluster Excellence Initiative? Where is that initiative today, 5 years later? And why is clusters and the services of ESCA so relevant for regional development strategy work? ESCA is the European Secretariat for Cluster Analysis, and they are responsible for the European cluster quality labeling and benchmarking services. And with us today we have Gerd Meier, Köcker, CEO of ESCA.
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation and thank you so much to talk about this very interesting topic. I well remember it was 2009 when we talked to many cluster policymakers and came to the conclusion that we have plenty of cluster initiatives in Europe, but only a few who really were very much matured and were able to really support companies and academia. That was the time when we came up with an idea how to make cluster managements more efficient, because many member states supported cluster initiatives but didn't pay attention to the performance and professionalization of cluster management. Having a European approach into account, we started with the so-called European Cluster Excellence Initiative to find ways, indicators and approaches to motivate cluster managers to do a more efficient job on behalf of SMEs. This is a really good question because this year we celebrate more or less the 5th year of this approach. First of all, what we didn't expect is the high acceptance and recognition all over Europe. Just last week, my colleagues benchmarked the 1000th cluster initiative worldwide. So we didn't expect this success 5 years before. Also, when it comes to silver and gold labeling, which means cluster management excellence certified by third parties, we just hit the 75 number, which is much more than we expected that year. So I guess this is a big success. It's also a big success as many countries outside of Europe are about to adopt this system. Mexico, Asia, North Africa. What we have to do, I wouldn't consider this as a failure, but what we have to do now is that we have 5 years after we started, have to revise the indicators a bit, because we have new industrial transformation process, we have more cross-cluster activities, and the indicators have to follow these new trends. What has to be improved is that regional policymakers should make more use of cluster initiatives. Very often cluster policy is understood as a funding scheme of cluster initiatives. What we see now, where all the regions have their regional smart specialization strategies, is that regional policymakers make more use of cluster initiatives. This is a bit more ambitious for cluster policymaker because it's much easier to fund them rather than to use them as a tool. So what we have to proceed now is that we have a closer combination between cluster organizations as a tool and policymaker being ready to use this tool for implementing smart specialization strategies.
Yeah. Thank you, Gerd. To sum up, Europe developed the European Cluster Excellence Initiative to introduce cluster quality labeling and the use of cluster benchmarking to support continuous improvement of cluster organizations in Europe. Today, more than 1,000 clusters are quality labeled and 70 of them with a gold label. But still, there is room for improvement. The future focus of ESCA and the European Cluster Excellence Initiative is the linking of a practical way of implementing smart specialization strategies and the further development of the regional cluster portfolio. In the next blog post, we will share with you how, in a practical way, you can move forward on this by tapping into a new service called the Regional Cluster Scoreboard.